Yesterday during the confirmation hearing, you heard a whole lot about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, or what we know as about Obamacare. So it's going to be kind of important for you to do so that you catch yourself up on what actually happened versus what the media and what those folks were saying behind those podiums. A couple names here you want to look up, okay? You want to look up a guy named Jonathan Gruber. Jonathan Gruber. Look up Jonathan Gruber and what he actually said about the ACA, what actually was the intent of the ACA. Excuse me, you want to look up also the ruling by John Roberts, okay? This is Supreme Court Justice Roberts. And the last name you want to look up is a guy named Josh Umber. You want to look up these three names. You want to find out what the actual intent of the ACA was, and what, even like you look here in California, what basically happens is folks have these ideas, these social engineering ideas, where everybody has to comply. If you don't comply, then you're against the law and you can be penalized and all that stuff. That's actually what the ACA did. But what the ACA also did was it tried to blow up the actual healthcare system. Not that the healthcare system didn't have its own issues, because it does. I mean, some of the prices for medicine and all that stuff, it was blown up. And you can look up even what's called crony capitalism in that. And that's like the bad form of capitalism, again, just being real with you. There'll be some things I want to educate you about later on another time. But understand that the reason why our medical prices and our drug prices are through the roof is because there's people out there who are using their power and ability to actually to use it against the average citizen. So there's a way to get rid of that, and that's actually what John McCain kind of jacked us all over when he did the thumbs down thing. But removing the mandate was actually the biggest deal, because this tax is an unconstitutional tax. What it does is it makes us all comply, which was why they included abortion into it. They wanted abortion to be a part of the ACA because we'd all have to comply, which put all these hospitals and all these doctors on notice that if they didn't comply, they would be out of compliance and they could be taxed and they could be feed and all that other stuff. But you need to know what the real desire of this guy, Jonathan Gruber, was. Sorry, I ate some almonds before I got in the car. The real deal was that he realized that the American people would not be, he said that they're not smart enough to know what's here. And you remember Nancy Pelosi said, we need to sign the bill so that we can figure out what's in it. You guys didn't understand. They're counting on the ignorance of the American people, but this is what more they were counting on. They were counting on anyone who was a conscientious objector to the program to be called racist because it was put forth by a black guy. If you were not going to be in compliance, if you did not want to believe in it, if you did not want to follow through, you could be labeled a racist. And that's how and why the Obama administration used its influence and their ethnicity to use the American people. Now, mind you, at the time, I was still a Democrat when I heard about the ACA. And I was kind of like, okay, wait, socialized medicine, that's actually what this is. And if it doesn't do well with this whole single payer thing, well, they'll just blow the system up, and what they'll do is they'll force us into socialized medicine because they would have destroyed the original system so much that there's no turning back. That's actually what the goal was. It was to destroy the system so that we couldn't go back to our original system, even though it needed it to be overhauled, but not overhauled to the point where we destroy it and then put in freaking socialized medicine. I mean, come on, folks across the world come to the United States to get their medical needs done. Why? Because their socialized medicine didn't work. Their socialized methods didn't work. So they come here and they pay the top dollar. That's actually what they did. That's actually what people do. They do it all the time. Understand that, okay? But these folks, then they would just use their influence to try to push this agenda, where they knew that they could use this platform of ethnicity to push these ideas, because they could call the folks who didn't believe in it racist, which is, I mean, that's one of the biggest manipulations ever by our black president. Of course, this is one of the deals where I was like, yeah, I'm out. And there was some stuff in there there was some stuff that happened before that where I realized, yeah, I'm not a part of this party anymore. They've moved to this whole socialist idea stuff, and that's not what the Democrat Party. Well, I didn't think the Democrat Party was all about back then, so I walked away. Well, anyway, understand that this is the same method used for the environment, the same method used for schools, the same method used all over the place. What they do is they destroy the systems, and then they have the means and methods to do these sweeping legislations to make everybody comply to what they want as a single idea. So The public school education system is jacked. I got some great friends who are teachers. They know how bad the system is, especially with the unions. They know what it's like. Even in the construction industry, some of the unions out there, they're jacked, man. I mean, seriously, they're jacked, and they'll do anything to keep power. But you just got to know what that really looks like. Unfortunately, for all of us, we get manipulated by these ideas and thinking that, oh, we can just force everybody to be on these single ideas, and then everything in the world will be better. Even with housing, housing as a right, the environment as a right. You got to understand, if me ask anybody that comes from any form and means of government housing, okay, think projects, okay, those are great ideas. Yeah, they're great ideas, which is why they want to blow up suburbia. Understand that when the government gets involved in these things, the government destroys it, which is why you need smaller government. I'm a big proponent of smaller government. People can figure this stuff out on their own, and it won't be the big bumps and bruises, but it works out. But to have the government step in a way that mandates things upon the public, that's not what the government's for. That is totalitarian, it's tyrannical, and it can turn tyrannical easily when you give the government too much control. But I need to understand this, okay? When you look up the name Josh Umber, you're going to see that this guy has an idea about how to do healthcare. Please look up this dude named Josh Umber, okay? Josh Umber. Just look it up. And I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that the dude does, but he's freaking amazing. The guy's got a great idea. But folks just have to look into this. And this is what so many people who are, young adults in their early 30s or mid 30s and late 20s, they think the Obama administration was one of, happiness, and it was such a great time. There were people that were going through some massive, it was massive social unrest. But it was all caused because of the ideas and the policies pushed by Obama. Remember, I got a telephone and I got a pen. The executive order and fiat. This guy was doing stuff that was not popular with the American public, but he sounded good. He was the first black president, so you had to be on board with this dude. That's how it was used against us. And that's how it was used against the American public, which is so unfortunate. But you just got to look it up, look into it yourself, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. And I don't want you to take my word for it. Please just look up some of the YouTube videos, look up some of the things that were said. Even Thomas Sowell was saying that the two people that he hated listening to is President Trump and President Obama. Thomas Sowell was no joke, man. Dude's hilarious. But you just need to understand these things and some of the basic economics in these things and how they actually work against us as we the people. Because right now, there's folks on that couch who they have this rose-colored view of what the past actually looked like 8 years ago. And this rose-colored view is because that's what the media pushed onto us. Remember, Jim Acosta, the tickles running up his leg, or the black president being inaugurated and walking down Pennsylvania Avenue, whatever. Understand, guys, we all were fed something that was not true. And a lot of people, they basically found it out too late. They found it out too late. But the folks on that TV, they have to push the agenda because the legacy of the first black president has to be upheld, which is why they went after the ACA yesterday in that confirmation hearing. That's all they talked about. They're going to get into the religious stuff later on because they saw what happened with Dianne Feinstein and how that didn't play very well to her side. But understand this, when people are watching on that TV, you need to go back on our history, look up the last, when Obama was president, and see what was changed for the purposes of introducing socialized ideas into the American public. It was done purposefully. It was done against us as citizens. And it made us less free. Understand what it actually meant to fundamentally change the nation. There was an idea about that, which was by that community organizer, which used Saul Alinsky methods in that community organizing ideology. Understand what that actually was, because if you don't, you'll be a victim in many ways and in many methods, because those folks do not have your best interests at heart. Look it up, please. Do a little bit of homework and research. Go back on it. Take care.